I'm a 7-figure Etsy seller, and on September 13th of last year, I decided to cut my ad budget from $1,000 a day to $100 a day just to see what happens. I talked about the results from that in this video right here, but the gist of it was that my rank dropped tremendously. Then on the 10th of October, I decided to up my Etsy ad budget again to $1,000 a day with one big caveat. I changed the prices of all of my listings to a break-even price. So in today's video, I will make sure to show you exactly how ads actually affect our listings on Etsy. If you don't know what Etsy ads is, it's simply their in-house marketing system. So you can toggle Etsy ads onto a listing of yours, and what it actually does in practice is that it creates a separate listing in search, and when someone clicks this separate listing in search, you actually get billed for that specific click. Now, what we talk mainly about this channel and how I've made all my money is through print on demand, through a production partner like Printify. And since there's a low barrier of entry using this type of a business model, there's a lot of competition. But using Etsy ads and using their whole in-house marketing platform is a great way to actually make sure that you get traffic to your shop. So last year, I wanted to keep my Etsy store as passive as possible, as I wanted to focus on this YouTube channel, but also on some personal stuff. But with that, I still managed to garner around 26K in revenue basically every month apart from Q4. Now, there's one thing that really happened in September, and what happened in September here made about 20K in revenue this month, and a big reason for that was that I actually started to experiment a lot more with Etsy ads, because the previous month from that, in August, I just noticed that my conversion rate was dropping a little bit, plus my Etsy ads just are like getting more expensive, and I wasn't sure why, because I hadn't really experienced this kind of a change before. Because like the cost of when someone actually clicks the listing is a lot higher. So that started in August, and I still made around like 26K that month. But in September, here where I made some changes, because I noticed that I really didn't want it to keep going this way, because my conversion rate was dropping, plus my ad spend was going up, which makes sense because like if you don't convert as much but you still spend as much in ads, you spend more than you earn. The thing that's important to know is that I was spending a lot more than I was used to, and that's was because the cost per click had increased kind of randomly out of the blue from what I at least noticed last year. It just came out of the blue. All of these marketplaces, they like Amazon and Etsy, they change constantly. So this shouldn't be something that you should be afraid of. It's just natural with every platform. Like things change all the time. So what I did here to experiment a lot, because I always have had my listings at $1,000 a day. So what I did was that on September 13th, instead of having it at $1,000 a day and spending roughly like $200 to $250 a day, I set my budget to $100 a day. So it's just the max spend would be $100. I dabbled with it here at the beginning, but I was kind of afraid. So I was like, okay, I had to put it back up, because I just noticed that if I didn't like push as much as I did with my Etsy ads, I would lose sales. So I dabbled with it here for like 3 days, and then I put it back up. But then I was like, okay, I gotta make something else and just gotta commit to a change and see what it does to my shop. So here, I basically cut my ad budget from $1,000 a day to $100 a day. Now, let's see here. So overall here on my orders, you can see that I was generally doing I wasn't doing super well with these kind of like ad numbers, which is why I'm experimenting. So I was doing generally like 30 orders a day, maybe like 25 to 30 orders a day. And here on this day is where I actually cut my ads budget to $100 a day from $1,000 a day. Remember that the budget is basically like a cap. We can't exceed that, and it normally doesn't spend that much. And as we saw here, it spent about like $200 to $250 a day when I had it at a budget of $1,000 a day. So here's where I cut it to $100 a day. And we can see here I was making about the same sales for a couple days, and then it kind of dips here, and then it goes up a bit here. Usually with Etsy, like it's not the same day to day. It can always like have big ups and big downs. But generally, during this month, I was making like 20 to 30 orders a day, roughly. So what we can see here, I'm still like making the same kind of sales, like 20 to 30 orders a day, even with a lot less ad spend. But there's a big thing that happens here. Here's where it really dips. I'm making like 17 to 25 orders here from basically from the 25th. So there's where we can see the first change here. Now, here's where we enter October, and here we can even see even more like changes. So as we saw here in September, maybe like 15 to like 25 orders instead of like 20 to 30 is what I was making at the end. Now And at the beginning of October, I was making like 20, 15, even 15 to 20 orders. But we can see the first major change happening here on the 25th, and then it keeps on going here. So we can see here, okay, I was making about roughly the same sales here, and then it dips here on the 25th. That's where it seems at least that rank has changed for some listings, because then in October, I was making around like 15 to 20 orders here. So even less than that at the start of October. What's important to know, like when it comes to this kind of stuff, is that Etsy actually changed a lot of their algorithm on October 1, and one big change that they actually made this like at the start of October was how they prioritize listings in search. Now, a big part of that update was if you have a paid shipping model, for instance, and you charge more than $6 in shipping, you won't be prioritized as much as listings that offer less than $6 in shipping. But basically, they made a lot of changes to the algorithm here at the start of October. So my listings were dropped kind of a bit here too. And then we can see another major change here. So I was making like 15 to 20, and this was a low day of it, like as we can see, but generally 15 to 20 orders. But I made some big changes during this month, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. On the 10th, I decided to put my Etsy ad budget up again to $1,000 a day. And with that, also to put all of the listings that I had in my shop to a break-even price. So I heard a while back that you can do this as a way to build up rank for Q4. I've lost so much rank with all of these changes that was happening to the platform, but overall with my listings, since I hadn't really listed that much last year, kind of lost rank at the end of it. And I wasn't really happy about that. So my approach was that, okay, what if I just put my listings at a break-even price? And just to preface what a break-even price to me is, it's that you have a $2 to $4 gross margin. And what a gross margin is the amount that you actually get when you have paid for the item on Printify. So basically here on the 10th, I decided to put my Etsy ad budget up to $1,000 a day, and to put up all my listings at a break-even price, just so I can build rank for when the real Q4 hits. I might probably even lose money on this. That's how but I thought it still would be worth it, because the upside of Q4 can be huge. I mean, in 2023 alone, I made over 100K in revenue in November, and over 100K again in December of 2023. So I knew the upside was huge to Q4. So that's what I did here. $1,000 a day and a break-even price. The thinking behind using a break-even price generally is that the lower price you have, the more volume you tend to do. Whereas the bigger price you have, the lower volume you do, but the more money you actually make. So what we can see here, nothing much really happens directly with ads and directly with the strategy. You always have to just give it some time to actually get some results. The good thing about this whole Etsy ad experiment during the last Q4 in 2024 was that I could actually learn that rank changes every 2 weeks or 10 to 14 days basically. Because I was making around the same sales here, it was boosted with ads, which is why I'm not making 15 to 20, but here I started the ads. And I'm trying to boost the listings as much as possible. So on the 10th, I did that. And here we have a major change. And the most important note here is that, so on the 19th, basically about 10 days, I jumped up to 34 orders. But it wasn't a fluke, it wasn't just a good day. It kind of stays there. So it kind of basically just stays there. So on the 19th, we can see that rank basically has changed. At least that's what it seems like. Because remember, the real rush of Q4 hits on Black Friday to December 15th. People might buy more, of course, in October and November, but not it shouldn't be the change usually isn't, in my experience at least, not this much and not this consistent. That's the main part. Since it's a consistent change, it feels reliable that rank, has actually changed here. So on the 19th, we see the first major change. And it keeps like this. I'm doing basically 30 to 40 orders a day. Somewhere around there, 30-40 orders a day. And then on the 27th, I go up to 51 orders. But that's kind of a fluke, because then I'm going down to 35 and then 39 on November 2nd. So the 19th is the first major change. But then basically 2 weeks after that, we have a new bump. We have here, instead of doing maybe 30 to 40 orders a day, this was just a good day. Also kind of a good day, but generally here around 30 to 40 orders. And then on November 3, there's another major bump, and we can see that the consistency is kind of the same as before. So again, from November 19th to the 3rd, which is roughly 14 days too, there's another rank change. And we can clearly see that I'm getting like a new consistency of daily sales and a new volume of that. So 60 orders basically, around 60 to 70 orders a day. This was just a good day, so we can't count this. And then we have another change here. Basically, the second change in rank we can see here is that from November 3rd, and then I made another change here on November 17th. That was that I actually put up all of my listings from my break-even price to profit pricing, which is around 30 to 40% margin. Remember, with this whole thinking about break-even price and profit pricing is that with a break-even price, you basically make more volume, more sales, but you make less profit. And with profit pricing, you basically make more money, but less sales. So that's why we kind of see a drop here from like 17th to the 18th, because instead of like making around maybe like 70 to 80 orders a day, somewhere around there, I was making 60 and then 66, 64. But then I was kind of like, as we're getting closer and closer to Black Friday, things are now basically like, we're basically in Q4, like the heart of Q4. And now things are just ramming up because the traffic is just so huge on the platform. So one thing that I did here too was that I actually, here on the 25th, I actually closed off my ads entirely, because I noticed that even with like applying profit pricing on all of my listings here with ads, the cost of running the ads has just become so much more compared to 2023, which makes me have to like sell so much more volume to just make up for it. So that's one key thing. But another key thing is that if I do more volume, I have to also upkeep that with like either doing all of the orders myself, which I prefer, or use automation to fulfill the orders. The problem with using like automation and stuff like that, like they also cost to use. So for instance, I do have some personalized orders, and I mean like if you do some personalized stuff with Hello Custom, that's a great automation software for doing that, but it still costs you to like per design to fulfill the orders itself, which basically makes me have to make up for it in volume. And this whole game and just thinking of this whole thing was just not something that I was willing to take part of this year in 2024. And I was also really curious to see how much volume can I actually do without ads, because I didn't really want to spend all day every day basically on the computer fulfilling orders, and the stress that comes along with that with customer service and other problems like that can occur. But I still wanted to make a good hefty profit, as all of us do, especially in Q4. So I decided to turn off all of my ads on the 25th here, which is why we see a dip here. It's from 80 to 51 to 62 and then 42. But the good thing about doing it this way and about where I was at currently with my ads, because remember, what we learned from this whole experiment was that rank changes every 2 weeks. It doesn't change from day to day. So basically I would still keep all of my listings at the organic rank that I already had. And the good part about that was that the Black Friday in 2024 was on the 29th. So here was Black Friday. And since I still had the rank, I was still gonna get a lot of sales because I was still like in the top of the search pages. And because I had already built rank from October up until the 25th, which is why I was able to even get like a good amount of sales without any ads. So on Black Friday, I basically made 100 orders. And then on the 30th, I made 87 orders. And then in December, let's see here, I basically made 100 orders on Cyber Monday, which was this day, I think. And then around 60 orders, basically around 60 to 100 orders, maybe like 60 to 90 orders a day, apart from like Cyber Monday and Black Friday. But like the big numbers that we all want to know when it looks like this is the profit. So the best, like I haven't done the accounting yet, so I'm not exactly sure about the profit that I actually made during these months, except for November. In November, I actually made 7K in profit. In October, as I mentioned earlier, because I was using all of my listings at a break-even price. Plus I was using Etsy ads because I was spending a lot this month on Etsy ads. This basically meant that I actually lost about $700 this specific month. But I made that up and then some in November and December. So in November I made 7K profit because remember all of my listings were at break-even price up until the 17th. And then I was still using ads up until the 25th. So it was mainly from like the 25th to the last day of November that I actually made all of that 7K. So basically in like 5 days. And then in December, I made about 15 to 20k in profit without any Etsy ads because I had already built up the organic rank for the listings. So they were selling organically. And it felt like heaven because like the net margins that I basically got, instead of having like 20% net margins that I usually have with ads, I was basically instead making around like 30 to 50% in net margins. Let's see here. Yeah, around 15 to 20k in profit. So somewhere around maybe even around like 40 to 50% in like net margins. But yeah, the general profit, I'm not good with head math, but basically around 15 to 20k in profit, which I was really super happy about. So what can we actually learn from all of this information? Well, the first thing is that marketplaces changes constantly. Both Amazon, Etsy, all of them basically change constantly. It's the nature of the game. When changes happen, all we can do is pivot and just try our best to make things better. And that's the first lesson. The second lesson that we can learn from this is that rank takes generally around 2 weeks to actually change. So if you want to use ads, you need to use them for a minimum of 14 days to actually see an organic rank change for the listing that you have on Etsy. Apart from that too, building up your listings rank is really important, but it's a great way to also like build up for events like Q4, for instance, like I did here. You might lose some money up front, but basically you can make it all back and a lot more than that if you have the organic rank, because everything on these platforms like Etsy and Amazon is all about rank. And I think this really proves it, because I was just like, I didn't use any Etsy ads in December. For some reason it says $0 spend, but I was still making like 69 orders, which was weird because I had no ad spend in this month. And you can really see it here too, that I switched off all of my ad spend on the 25th here. Everything is really about the rank that you have on the listings in search. When someone searches basically something on Etsy and you pop up at the first page, if you don't pop up on the first page, you basically miss out on like 80% of the actual sales. So everything is about rank, and it takes 2 weeks to actually gain some rank or like experience a rank change with your listing itself. And also, like when you have achieved rank for a specific event like Q4, you can then turn them off since you still have the rank, because again, it takes 2 weeks to change the rank. And if you do it like I did, like a couple days before, like 5 days before, and just take the ads off, you will still maintain the rank once the big rush of like Black Friday and Cyber Monday actually hits. Another important caveat to it too is that what if you actually lose rank like I did in October, what you can then do too, like apart from Q4, you can put your listings at a break-even price, push them with ads to gain back some momentum and some rank for the listing itself. Once you achieve the rank, if you're like aiming for a specific holiday, then you can turn the ads off. But you can re-evaluate your ads once you have actually achieved some rank. And remember, you need to actually use the ads for like at least 2 weeks to see some tangible results. But a big takeaway from this too, that it's really important to know, is that if you have a bad conversion rate, a conversion rate that's less than 4% on Etsy, then it can be really hard to actually like make profit with your actual listings, because you need to have at least a 30 to 40% margin to like make the Etsy ads worth it, because otherwise the CPC is just so high from 2025 and onwards. And if you have a low conversion rate, then it's a listing problem. Then you need to optimize the listing, see where things can be improved to actually like increase the conversion rate. Because remember, conversion rate is why that can be low, less than 4%, would usually be because someone is clicking into the listing and for some reason they're not purchasing. It can also be multiple reasons, and we need to determine why someone actually does that. But conversion rate is mainly because of the listing itself. Something is off in there. Now, if you have a good conversion rate like me, I had like a 4% conversion rate, which is really low for me. I'm usually around 5.5 to 6 or up towards the 7% in like all months except for Q4, because then it can range from like 8 to 10%. This was a bit low for me last year, but since I was like 6.5 in November and then 7.2 in December, but a lot of this was because I experimented a lot, plus I hadn't listed much at all last year. But the thing to take away is that if you have a low low conversion rate, then you can really lose money on ads, so be really hesitant with it. And if you have a low conversion rate, then you can just optimize the listing itself to make sure that you convert better and at least 4%. Otherwise, you can really lose money on ads because you won't get back as much as you kind of need nowadays to actually make up for the ad cost. Now, how do we actually go from here in 2025 and onwards when it comes to Etsy ads? Because we can't really be as passive, or I can't really be as passive as I've been previously with Etsy ads. I think, like I read in a Russell Brunson book that's called .com Secrets, that the person that will be able to spend the most money on actually getting the customer will always win in the end. And I really believe that, because on Amazon, I tested this out time and time again. If you don't use ads, you can sell like 4 times less basically. It's usually like the same thing with Etsy, because remember, like last year, this revenue here was over 100K revenue. So you need ads to actually sell, but you need to do them profitably. So how I will basically use Etsy ads going forward will be basically to build rank for specific events. That's a key thing that I will definitely do. I might lose money up front, but in the position that I am now, I can definitely do that. If you're in a tight position financially, then this can be really hard to do, and I totally understand that. I would in that case just focus on getting the organic thing up, so you have all the metrics needed in order to use Etsy ads. You would need to get those set first before you can actually experiment a lot with it. That's how I would do it if I had to be scrappy, because I was financially strapped basically. And if you're in that position, I would highly recommend to do that. Optimize everything so that you're at minimum at a 4% conversion rate in a dead month like February or March. That would be the first thing. So I would basically be able to build rank for specific events. Apart from that, I will have to experiment more to see what actually will work. I don't fully know, at this time when I'm recording this, it's the 12th of January. I don't fully know how my strategy exactly will be going forward. I've been really passive with it. I've listed basically my listings with ads, and if they don't hit my break-even ROAS, I've turned them off and then gone to the next. That's how I've always done my ads. Now, there will have to be some changes going forward because of the new changes with Etsy, and I'm honestly not sure how to do it, but I think I'll figure it out with time basically. And I still learned a lot with this whole experiment, so I'm really happy that I did it. And hopefully you learned a lot about how Etsy actually works and how Etsy ads actually affect our listings, that it basically gives us rank. But hopefully you'll know a lot more about Etsy, how they rank their listings, and Etsy ads itself, and that all these marketplaces change constantly, and in order to keep up to date, we need to still play the game, and we need to always keep up with the game. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.